Has this ever happened to you? You're spectating your buddy as the last live when suddenly he pulls off the sickest clutch, winning the round. But what was that? Graffiti has been a cultural statement for decades at this point. An art form born in the streets, challenging authority, and giving a voice to the voiceless. But how did this rebellious art form make its way from alleyways into video games? Today I'd like to look back and figure out how graffiti transcended from the physical to the digital. To understand graffiti in video games, we'll have to understand graffiti itself. While graffiti can be traced back very early on in history, modern-day graffiti emerged in the 1960s and 70s in New York as a grassroots movement driven by the energy and struggles of urban youth. It began as a simple act of tagging. Writing one's chosen alias or symbol in as many places as one could, often on subway cars and city walls. Over time, these simple tags evolved into complex expressions of art, incorporating elaborate letter styles, vivid colors, and intricate designs. This artistic evolution coincided with the rise of hip-hop in New York City, where graffiti became one of hip-hop's core elements. The city's infrastructure became a perfect canvas for artists looking to spread their work across the city. For many, it was a way to reclaim public spaces and assert their identity in a city that often marginalized their voices. These movements were not without controversy, though, as authorities and city officials deemed this vandalism, leading to massive crackdowns and anti-graffiti campaigns. Despite this, though, graffiti flourished, finding new forms of expression, and eventually gaining recognition in galleries in the mainstream. As New York's graffiti scene grew, its influence spread westward. In the late 1970s and 1980s, you saw graffiti start popping up in West Coast cities such as San Francisco and LA. In San Francisco in particular, graffiti took root in the Mission District, where artists blended the bold graffiti styles of New York City with the traditional muralism of Mexican culture. Unlike New York, where subway cars were the primary canvas, San Francisco writers focused on walls, alleyways, and bridges, creating pieces that reflected the city's unique character. The Mission District became a hub for graffiti and street art that celebrated community, identity, and urban expression. And despite this still being a crime, graffiti flourished into the 20th and 21st century, eventually finding its ways to galleries, murals, magazines, and popular culture alike. This is where I first fell in love with graffiti, as I spent my teenage years in the San Francisco Bay Area observing all this art around me, and I truly think this is what led me to my future career of being a graphic designer. And much like I was inspired by these graffiti pieces, I feel like many of these early video game designers also were. The late 1980s and early 1990s was pivotal for gaming. While graffiti wasn't an essential theme of these games, it began creeping in. The first arcade video game to incorporate graffiti in its artwork was the 1987 edition of Street Fighter, which had graffiti-inspired backgrounds for some of its stages, though it wasn't a core gameplay element. Graffiti would soon become a powerful story element in video games, offering players a unique way to engage with their environment and uncover layers of narrative. By using street art, developers can convey aspects of a game world, characters, and culture without relying on traditional dialogue options or cutscenes. In games like Half-Life 2, graffiti plays an essential role in building the atmosphere of a dystopian world. The subtle street art scattered around City 17 reflects the oppressive nature and the counterculture within. This offers player a deeper understanding of the push and pull of that world. These messages on the walls and symbols of rebellion contribute to the game's tense and immersive atmosphere. In a game like Left 4 Dead, graffiti is used in a similar sense to that, to add depth to the world. In this post-apocalyptic world, survivors leave messages and warnings on these walls for the player, telling stories of desperation, fear, and hope amongst this zombie outbreak. Each piece of graffiti gives insight into the personal struggles of other characters in that world, once again further enhancing the atmosphere of this world through emotional connections. As developers started to focus on creating more immersive and lifelike settings, graffiti and street art crept into these worlds. With its raw and rebellious energy, added a layer of authenticity to these environments, reflecting on the grit and character of real-world cities. It became not just a visual element, but a way to deepen the connection between the players and the world, blurring the lines between the digital and the real. As fascinating as graffiti as a set piece is, I'm more interested in graffiti as a game mechanic, and the first to truly do this was Jet Set Radio. Jet Set Radio didn't just make graffiti part of its background, but it was an integral part of the game's mechanics, blending creativity with action. Players controlled members of the GG Gang, rollerblading through a futuristic Tokyo-inspired city, while spreading their message by tagging walls, billboards, and urban surfaces. The tagging process involved real-time events, which involved moving the joystick to get players' tags up while avoiding the police and other gangs. Graffiti isn't just a visual element in this game, it is a main character. It was a complete part of the game. It was the game to many people. And this trend of graffiti as a mechanic continued on. Around this time, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games were also blowing up in popularity. Graffiti is first introduced as a competitive gameplay mechanic, and players tag skatable objects like ledges, rails, ramps by doing tricks over them. Once tagged, the object changes to that player's tagging color, showing their dominance over the level. This mechanic wasn't just about scoring points, but also about claiming territory. Opponents can overwrite your tag by performing a better trick in that same spot, creating a dynamic and ever-changing environment in game mode. Graffiti in these Tony Hawk games merges this urban art with skateboarding culture, much like the real world. While it doesn't delve into the core essence of graffiti, it comments on how closely these two cultures are intertwined. Going forward in Tony Hawk's American Wasteland, graffiti takes a more significant role, integrating in both the gameplay and the story. Unlike this graffiti mode in earlier game styles, American Wasteland had true tagging as a way to personalize and interact with the open world. Players could spray graffiti on walls as part of missions, or just leave their mark anywhere they wished. This game also allowed players to create custom graffiti designs, just adding that layer of personal expression. This mechanic ties together the overarching theme in American Wasteland of rebellion and self-expression, and ultimately deepened the authenticity of the game. As these video games embraced more open world mechanics, graffiti found its way into more and more titles. In Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, graffiti plays a key role in the story and gameplay, symbolizing gang territory and identity. These graffiti tags represent the player's efforts to reclaim these territories, much mimicking real-world graffiti wars. The graffiti mechanic is introduced very early in the game, with missions that take the players across the city to spray over rival tags. These missions then blend seamlessly into open-world gameplay. It's even part of the achievements to 100% the game, to explore all the area and cover up all of these tags. Graffiti in San Andreas goes beyond a simple mechanic, serving as a visual and thematic representation of true graffiti and gang wars within real life. It reinforces the gritty and authentic atmosphere that is Los Santos, while adding an interactive layer that ties to CJ's identity directly. I also have to mention Mark Echo's Getting Up, even though I personally did not play this game when I was young. This was an action-adventure game from 2006 that combined graffiti culture with a narrative-driven story, set in the dystopian city of New Radius. The game follows Train, a young graffiti writer fighting authorities and rival games to make his mark on this urban landscape. The gameplay focuses heavily on graffiti, tagging walls, trains, and other surfaces with a variety of tools. This game also features a rich story about the history of graffiti. With input from real-life graffiti artists and a curated soundtrack, Getting Up captured the raw energy that was street art in the early 2000s. As graffiti mechanics evolved, they started to find their home in unexpected games like first-person shooters and battle royales. Games like TF2 and Counter-Strike introduced sprays as a way for players to communicate, taunt, or simply leave their mark on the battlefield. This feature provided a new level of expression for the players, giving them the ability to leave their mark within the game world and showcase their individuality. It became an essential part of the Counter-Strike experience. Beyond the player-created content, the developers also added permanent graffiti sprays in certain areas of the map, honoring famous moments from the game's history. These additions helped cement sprays as a cultural touchstone, not only enhancing the game's immersive world, but also contributing to its sense of legacy and community. In many ways, sprays became an enduring visualization of the game's blend of competitiveness and creativity. Following Counter-Strike, the concept of sprays made its way to many multiplayer games, becoming standard in some of the most popular games like Call of Duty, Overwatch, Fortnite, and Apex Legends. In these games, sprays evolved to fit the unique tone and style of each game, often allowing players to express themselves in the same ways they did in Counter-Strike. What made sprays an integral part of the multiplayer identity is their ability to blend personal expression within the shared space of the game world. This offered players a unique voice in a competitive arena, creating moments of levity or recognition between matches. Over time, they have also become symbols of status or belonging, with games integrating sprays into progression systems or as rewards tied to achievements. Sprays now can transcend individual games, acting as a universal language of player identity and creativity, and are now a staple of what makes multiplayer maps so engaging and socially dynamic. Graffiti's journey from the streets of New York to the streets of the virtual world highlights the powerful connection between art, culture, and powerful storytelling. What started as a form of self-expression in the 70s and 80s evolved into an integral and dynamic part of storytelling within video games today, transforming from a background detail to a core gameplay mechanic for one's expression. Graffiti has become more than just a visual element. It's a tool for world building, narrative, and personal expression. As games continue to evolve, it's clear that graffiti's role in shaping these virtual worlds will remain a vital testament to the enduring power that is street art, both in real life and the digital spaces. Thanks again. As always, thanks for tuning in and listening to me talk about something. Here's 2 videos that YouTube thinks you might find interesting. And as always, let me know down in the comments below if you found this topic interesting. Like I said in the beginning of this video, graffiti has affected my personal life greatly, getting me interested in the arts from a young age, going through college, getting my degree in graphic design, and eventually coming here to make these videos. But other than that, I hope you guys have a good day, and if you could hit that subscribe button, it'd mean a lot to me. Thanks. Bye.